Welcome to another episode of the Python class with self-devs and me, guys. And it's nice to see you again, Monet, Johnny, and is it Afro? Yeah, Afro, man. So, guys, welcome back in. And I hope you all had a great weekend because I did. And now we're back with a new agenda, which I want to show to you. Can you see it?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so today we are going to review task number 10 quickly. So it kind of gives Monet a little onboarding on what we did with APIs or what Johnny actually did, because Johnny sent me in the task already. And then we go over to the next chapter, which will be super interesting because we will do something which Johnny already did, which was databases, and because we need to store our data. And in the previous task, we learned how to scrape data with some simple, very basic APIs. And then I will explain to you what an ETL pipeline is, and start to introduce you to into working with them. Okay. So that's basically
Yay.
what we are going to do, because this is now the juicy part, like where we actually don't learn what a for loop is or how to open a file, because this is like you just learned how to use the tools, and now we can kind of leverage them by applying them on something which we want to do. And yeah, so let's just dive into the task 10. And because Johnny was the only person who sent me in the task yet, because everybody else was, how to say it, MIA? Missing in action. Yeah, exactly. And they haven't been here. We will just review the task quickly because I think, I already looked into it and it looked very good, Johnny. So good job on that one. But I can just go into this one for you. And this is a repository from Johnny again. Johnny, one thing which you should do, you see you have two branches, right? Which I saw. And you have main and master. I think 2 years ago they called the main branch master, but then they switched to main. So you basically don't have a master branch anymore. And you normally have a main branch and then a dev branch. I think that's where you just can rename it, so you know this is your development branch. Okay,
Okay.
so that's why you also can look up Git and how to actually um, rename a branch, because I like to do that from the terminal, but you also can do it here on your UI from GitHub, but I would recommend to do that on the terminal. Okay, so that's why we need to go to the master branch. I guess this is where Johnny committed the task number 10. And Johnny, can you give Monet a quick rundown what the task was about?
So first, we had to scrape some data from our self-dev website, basically. And
Mm-hmm.
then we had to store the data into a JSON file. And after that, the next task was where would you store the data in general? Or like, how would you make it able so that other people can work with it? And the last task was about working with an API, basically the first steps into this whole field of working with APIs with a simple API long posted in the task.
Yeah,
That's
man.
basically it.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Oh, what about this one? You also did this one, right? I saw that.
Yes.
Perfect, man. So how long did it take you to do all of those tasks, Johnny?
8 hours.
10 hours for task number 10. I don't know if you did it on purpose, but guys, you don't need to put as much hours as the number of the task is, okay?
No, 8 hours. I said 8 hours in
Oh,
total.
8 hours. Okay. Perfect. So, Monet,
But it
just
was
for you.
because I had a bug when I had a problem, which took me 2 hours, but in the end I couldn't even solve it. So, but,
Yeah, no worries. That's pretty good already. But that's exactly what this course is about, guys. So just as a reminder, because we had a discussion here as well, and that this course is just a guide, like I'm here with you guys, and if you have questions we can talk about that, and I just give you a direction and teach you how to learn it by yourself if you wouldn't have me, because that's something which I would wish to have when I started learning programming. That's why how Johnny is doing that is exactly how I imagined this. And yeah, so that was just a small reminder. And this was the task, Monet. So we basically learned how to scrape using web pages, which we want to collect data from, and then also thought about the storages, and then work with the first API. And yeah, so Johnny, I'm happy that you did all of that. We will just review it quickly. And here's another thing, guys, which I wanted to show you. This is the more info section here where I just wanted to show you that GitHub, for example, has a repository where they basically sort like or listed hundreds or maybe even thousands of different APIs which you could use, and then you just have to check if they need an authentication or not. But most of them don't need one, or some of them don't need one, and then you just could click on them and play around by retrieving the data and see what you can do, right? For example, when we go to weather, you see air quality and weather data. Okay, you need some API key, but let's go here. What is this? Aviation API, and then you could get the data here, and so on and so on, okay? So if you want to play with some data, you can go anywhere and get data for free and work with them. And also, someday we will get over to the cloud. That's where you also get a lot of more data or on Kaggle. But yeah, that's just a very small excursus to something else. So, Johnny, which task was the hardest one? The first one, or which one was it where you had this issue?
It was task number 10A.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
I couldn't get the image link. You remember?
Okay, so basically what I wanted you guys to do is to go to the selfdev.com, and this is our homepage of the self-dev community, and we have this section where we have all the people who are part of that, like content creators or just coders. And you see we have all this list, and Dwayne, who's this guy? This guy here, he created this page, and to do that, he had to build all of that and build some kind of API for this page. So the code he coded himself can retrieve the data. And my goal was to show you that you can get the data by yourself and save it locally on your own computer. And that was basically task number A. And for that, you just had to use requests and beautiful soup packages, but Johnny knew all of that already. And if you look at this code and just copy it and put it into your own code or IDE, you basically can see what's happening. But so far, I looked into it, and this is exactly how I imagined how to do that, except there's one thing missing, Johnny. And this is the top level environment. Like you have all the imports here, you have your L, then you have your function, okay, another function, and then you call all those functions here, but you don't have the part where it says if name is main, like the part which you already looked up once. Do you remember?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember. Okay.
Like top level environment, Python. This is this part, the top level code environment. Do you remember what this is used for?
Yes.
So what is it used for? This part here.
It has something to do with using running files as a main in order to avoid memory usage, I think. Something like that.
Yes, okay, but this is not the main reason. The main reason is that, like, what's saying here, look at this. execute when the module is not initialized from an import statement. Okay, it's kind of not so clear, but for you guys, what you need to know is that you have to use this part here, copy this one, and then, for example, here in line 50, you paste it, and then you put this part below it with an indent. That means when you import your script or deploy it somewhere on the cloud or on a server, when it gets copied into the server with this top level code environment, it won't get executed. Unless you say in the terminal Python 3 main.py, for example. Because if you don't do that, and imagine you have this code here, right? And let's say you want to scrape a page for 1 million entries or something, then you put it on the server and then it just executes itself without you wanting it. And you don't know that. And then, for example, your API or the request which you want to do is does cost money. And then you get a lot of you get in a lot of unnecessary trouble, and then you have to pay it or something. And that's how you avoid it. That's why this is just one thing missing, Johnny. But regardless of that, I think everything is pretty fine. But what is this request? What is that? What does it do? This is the first page. So you just print it, a specific member. Okay, yeah, I won't go through the whole task per se because I think, Johnny, you don't have any questions here, right?
No.
Yeah, so if you want to just go through that one, guys, just hit me up or ask Johnny. But that looks really good already. But one thing, Johnny, another thing actually, you also could clean the code a little bit with those snippets here. Although I know that this part, for example, this is okay, but when you have more comments or so, you could remove them. For example, this one, then you don't need it. It's not that bad, but still fine. And also another thing you could do is that you could put this code into another module, Johnny. Do you know what I mean when I say put it into another module?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, because so you can keep it a little bit cleaner. And also this one, why is it the same?
I could have put both functions into another module, right? And then only
yeah.
call
You
them
could.
in this file.
You also could do that. Although I wouldn't do that because it's just two functions and it doesn't. It's not that complex or so, you know. But if you have 5 functions or 10, then I would consider that. Yeah.
Okay.
Or when we start working with the database. But so far it looks really good. I like that. Also, the time.sleep is pretty necessary, so you just don't get banned from the server. Okay, but so far this one looks really good. Then we go to the next one, which is B. And my question was, all right, let's go back to it. It was about, now think of a way how other people could access this data. And how could you make this data available for other people? For example, Monet now is our community manager and he wants to add more people. And how can he access the data and see who's part of that already? And how can he delete people or members if they are not part of the community anymore, for example? And Johnny said, accessible to others.
I'm not sure about this one.
Yeah, no, Rose, that's why we are here today. Creating a JSON, CSV, XMLX depending file to save data. Okay, of course, because if I wouldn't know about other systems, I would think like that as well. And then you could upload file into GitHub repository. Okay, uploading file into any cloud-based storage. Okay, although you could argue that GitHub also is a cloud-based storage already.
Oh, yeah.
And then send it via email. Yes, you won't believe it, but some people, I swear to God, man, I was working in a company and I was like, yeah, can you send me the code? And then 5 minutes later, they gave me a USB stick. And I was like, what is this? What is this stick? Why did you give me this one? And he said, yeah, you wanted my code, right? And I was like, what? is this a joke or something? And then I asked them why they are not doing that. But yeah, you know, people who have systems and they stick to it, or are they called boomer? Oh, sorry. But yeah, anyways, that was a short story. And then we make my SQL database accessible via admin rights. Okay, I know what you mean, Johnny. It feels like you just dumped some keywords into this one, like SQL database and admin rights.
I googled
But
this actually.
yeah, but no worries. That's actually where we are heading towards to, okay? And that's basically what we are going to discuss today because Johnny did a great job already getting all the data. Now I'll just go to 10C quickly, which was to access. No, where's this? Where's the other task? Where he wrote this? Ah, here, API request. Exactly. I wanted Johnny to go to this page here, this endpoint from inspiration. So if I open this one, you can see we get like a quote every time we open it. So like when I look, you can see optimize a happiness. No, you can't see it, right? Optimize a happiness magnet, blah blah blah, and it's from Mary Lou Retton. So when we do it again, it doesn't do anything. Amazing. Okay, so it seems like I have to
Because on the website it says they're working with caches and it
mm,
deletes itself
yeah,
every hour. So, but
yeah.
within that hour, the code doesn't change.
Oh, okay. Then really good. That's good to know, Johnny, because I thought I have to change my IP because they give everybody just one or they have a cache or something. But that's also good to know, and that's super important to know if you work with an API. So good job, man. Good job, Johnny. I
I
like
mean,
that.
I could see this. I could see to use this API for like a website, which people don't necessarily visit
Yeah.
every day. So they always have like a new quote.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you already know how you would use that. But my guess was that I could get another quote every time. But it seems like you just can do it once every hour, which is no problem because I just wanted you to play around with that one. And the best case would be if you get another one every time. But this time you just get the same, so it's okay. And Johnny did that here with the request module, and then he just created two functions which created them and wrote them into a file. So here is where he gets the quote and then how to, what is this? JSON quote list. Okay. You see, Johnny, when I read this function name, I don't know what that actually is doing. So you could
Mm,
say write or dump quote list or something, and then
okay.
it's a little bit clearer. But also, this is where he opens a file, and then, for example, this part here, Johnny, line 19, you could make it dynamic and put this also into another module, and then say where you can adapt it every time instead going into the code, so you can pass a variable which has a module with a name somewhere else. So you,
Mm-hmm.
with the main goal to building the habit of modularizing your whole code, because
Okay.
then you have this habit and system and you do it on and on and on. And again, the top level environment is missing, so
Mm-hmm.
use the live templates, for example, and just write it by yourself. But so far, it looks really good. And then we have number C, where I just said, okay, you have the list now somewhere here. Where is it? Inspirational quote. So you have it like this. And I wanted you guys to write a code to pick a number, and then you get the code or like the author and the quote from this file. And this is task C. So I think this was pretty straightforward as well. Although here, Johnny, maybe one thing you could do is just to put this like removing the indent from those 4 lines, because you just want to load this file here and then close it.
Oh, it doesn't have to be in the same indent with the with open.
Yes, it doesn't have to be. Just
Oh, okay. I
the
didn't
part
know.
where you load it. That's fine.
Mm, okay. Okay.
Okay,
Okay. No.
so
No.
that's basically
Okay.
what you need to do. Also perfect. The encoding, that's really good. Oh my god, I have to sneeze again. Please save me. Okay, perfect. But I like what I see, and here's the JSON file from all the members. So let's see if I'm on this page. Long like short. Mornay. Nice. I like that. Really good, man. Oh, look at this, man. Johnny, how do you fix this? Do you know how to fix this? The encoding of those umlaute, those ü.
I think those are different unique,
Special characters.
Yeah.
special characters. Do I have to include that whenever I write the file?
What do you mean included?
Because I use the UTF-8.
Yeah.
So is that the place where I would have to write a different UTF?
I think so. But you also can create your own encoder, you know, and then you just replace them with those special characters. I don't know what is the best way, but I just use the encoding, a specific one. I don't know which one, but you can just use this and research it, and then just post it into the discussion.
Okay.
Okay? But I need to clean my nose, guys. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so far I really like what I see. Really nice. And that's also one thing, Johnny, which will be part of the ETL which we're talking about, okay?
I'm excited to see what's going
Yeah,
to
so guys, I hope
come.
that was a quick rundown of the task which we had before. So we just fixed this one. Nice. And then we will now go about and talk about databases actually, which are related to the ETL pipeline. And Johnny, did we talk about ETL pipelines somehow already also?
In the podcast, you mentioned it once, but you never really went into details.
Perfect, perfect. Okay. Monet or Afro, did you guys hear about ETL pipeline before or know what that actually is?
No, never.
Perfect,
I've
perfect.
heard of it, but no idea.
Okay, so the main idea is that you have all the data right now, and Johnny had some nice suggestions how to make the data available for other people. And it works, of course, but we need a scalable and quick way to do that. Because imagine when you have, what did you say, GitHub or cloud storage? I mean, let's say just GitHub. And you have like millions of entries of 50 or 100 gigabyte of data. I don't think any of us wants to store 100 gigabyte of data into GitHub and then downloading it again. You know, that's why this is a problem, and we need it fast in real time. And then also we need to have a system where we can edit it very fast and say, okay, I just want to count all the items or members of a table in a database, and then just remove it or edit or I don't know, manipulate it, okay? And that's why our goal is to get in touch with databases today. And I already talked with Johnny about databases, about relational databases, so relational databases and NoSQL databases, okay? We have a video for that topic, but we just scratched it at the surface. Also today we don't want to dive too deep into this topic because it's pretty straightforward, so I can just make an independent video about that. But what you should know is that databases basically are storages which you can host on your own computer or on the cloud or even on the on servers. But our goal is to move to the cloud at one point or just storing them on your own servers. And then we will work with the Google Cloud platform later. But before we can do that, we need to understand what are ETL pipelines. And those relational databases and NoSQL ones, they play a huge role to all of that. That's why today I'm just going to explain to you what ETL pipeline is. And then Johnny, the next task then, do you know or can you guess what the next task is? Which is related to databases?
No.
Yeah, no worries. So that means
we have the data
Create
now.
one.
So what's gonna happen now? We store it. Just learn how to store it.
yeah, exactly. So now you just put it down into your own computer, but the next step is to send it into a database so you can insert it. Because in the episode where I talked with Johnny about databases, he just created entries by writing insert into queries, right? And we want to do that from Python, because Python and relational databases or NoSQL, they use the query language SQL, and that's what we will do. Structured query language also, I forgot what it stands for. SQL. What does it stand for again? Structured query language, exactly. So that's what we basically are doing. So Python and SQL or SQL, those two are our favorite friends in the future. And now I'll just explain to you what ETL is. And remember what I told you before. I don't want just to draw something for you and say this is it. I want to show you how I would Google it if somebody tells me, yeah, man, you need to look up ETL pipelines, right? And I know that in this book, which I recommended to you, Automate Your Boring Stuff also, it doesn't have it probably. So I would just go in and say Python ETL pipeline. And then we will hopefully find a good picture. What is this? Medium. Medium is always good. Oh, what is this? Use a piece of paper. I can't believe it. No. Wait, let me go to the images. Then we have it a little bit better. Okay. Is this good? No, I think it's too complicated here. Maybe I have to draw it myself. Okay, I will draw it myself. So, guys, ETL, what does ETL stand for? ETL.
If I had to guess, then I would say maybe it stands for extract, transform, and load.
Very smart, Johnny. But exactly. So that's basically a principle or a workflow which we data engineers came up to describe the process of getting data from multiple data sources into a database, right? And that basically just consists of 3 steps. And that's why I told you need to write clean code, which means that you structure it very clean. That's why, look at this. If we have three phases, we basically just could write those functions here. You see, those could be functions in your code, and then you execute this function, and then after that this, and the last one is the load, and then you do all of the things which you want to do. But what we basically do is that the first step is that we have all those web pages here, somewhere here and there, and then let's say you have 2 web pages, and then you have a file which looks like that, and then we have CSV again, and you need to collect all the data because you have 10,000 data points here, and then you have 15,500 here, and here you have 200,000 data, or like the data sets, right? So in total, we have 235,500 data or items which we want to get. And that's the first phase. So this is what we are going to do here. This is an extract phase where you basically gather all the data into your code. You know? Can you follow me so far?
Okay, this is basically what extracting does.
Exactly. So you just extract it, and for example, here you have API, which you did before, Johnny. Like you have some endpoint, like you have like blah 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 /.com, and then you have how do I write quotes or so, and then you get all of them. But
why is it called endpoint? Like, what this is the meaning of it?
Endpoint. Let's go here. So we have how do I draw a server? Let's say this is I know how. Like this is the server. The hardware server. And then you have some software running in on this, and then it provides storage, like it has all the storages, and you write all the code. And in your code, you have to like, this is where your code runs. This is your code. And then this code needs to make something public that you can retrieve the data. For example, what you had before is where's the task? This one. So this task had this URL. Go here. So you have this URL, right? Here, and you can see this is your domain, goprogram.ai, and then it has a subdomain called API. Like, I don't know if you know all of that yet, but that's just a quick thing which you can learn today as well. Wait, how can I change the color? Hello? Here. So this is the subdomain, and this is the normal domain. Like every page, you know, like for example, this page is called miro.com. So this is the main domain name, and then this is your top level domain, which just tells you the ending of your whole website, like .ai, .com, whatever you want. This is not so important. But here you have this part. It says inspiration, right? Right? And now let's go to the selfdev.com, and then I write inspiration as well. And look what happens. Then my page says the page is not found, could not be found, because my web page, and that requires some kind of web development understanding, my page simply doesn't have this endpoint. So I don't have a page or anything which tells the user, or I don't have any data which will be returned when I write this one. Or I just can say self-dev 123. I don't know anything which you can think of. It doesn't exist.
So if you were to scrape this page, then the response from in the terminal would be 404, right?
Yeah, because you don't get anything returned, or
the file does not exist.
Yeah, but not you won't get 404 specifically. It depends on, for example, the page could have been coded in a way where it just returns something else for you. Okay. And that's what the good pages do. They realize you did something else, and then they even redirect you to something else or so. And then you as the scraper have to figure out, why did I get the page, the normal page, like the main page, you know, like sometimes like this. Then they just return this one. But most of the case, it will be like this, where it just tells you, yo, I don't have this one. And then you get some error code like 403 or something, I don't know. And yeah, so that's basically one endpoint. And here in this example, this guy or the company, or I don't know what that is, who created this part, like imagine this is the server, and they have some kind of server running here. This is called API GoPro.ai. And then they coded an API which said, okay, when somebody requests this page, they will return this. This will be returned to you. So this is basically the endpoint, which means somebody created this ending of this link for you. Because if I say, like, for number 4, it doesn't return anything. You see? Or inspirations, it also doesn't work. Do you see that? I just wrote inspirations. Then it doesn't exist. But, for example, let's go back to public APIs. And then let's go to, I don't know, what else do we have here? Final space API, what does it do? Can I click this one? Okay, look at this. This is another API. Do you see this? And it says API v0. So this is the domain, final space api.com/API/v0. This is like one of the most standard approaches which most people do when you implement APIs on your server. They give you some standard names and path for your APIs. And now let's see what will happen when I put it into my browser. As you can see, it basically tells me that I will get this return, but my browser doesn't format the output, so it just looks scuffed like this. And you see now the endpoint is probably v0. Maybe I will get something else when I say v2. No, you see it says I cannot get API v1, if you can see that, because v1 has not been defined. It doesn't nobody created this one, or it's forbidden, or whatever that is. Okay.
So the inspiration API link, is inspiration like a sort of function then, which
Yeah,
looks up the
exactly.
database and then pick
Yeah.
one random
Exactly.
code
This is
from
what
this
I
database. Oh,
exactly like here. It says, for example, somebody said they requested this link, like GoPro slash inspiration or something. Oh my god, inspiration. Then when you trigger this one and you put it into your browser, it will be sent to this server here, like, whoop. And then in this server there's a code snippet which understands this request, because we need to cover this topic as well, HTTP requests, or protocol actually, request. That's what we can do next time. It simply goes here, and here in this code, it says, for example, there's a function which says return inspirations, and then here it says, okay, go to database, get a random inspirational quote, like oops, here, and then return, and then it will get sent to the client. So you are the client, and then it will just send it to you. Does it make sense?
yeah, okay, all right, understood.
And here you need to understand, here again, database. This part here, oops, wait, let me change the color. This go to database, here there's something else, like a storage where there's a dedicated database. Then it goes into this one and gets a random number, and then returns it here. Man, I need to change the color. And then returns it here. Boop. And then this will be sent to you, like this is you. Okay?
Okay, so you basically write Python code in order to request your SQL.
Yeah. That's what you mean. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, here. But this part here, this doesn't have to be written in Python. They could have written it in any language like Go, PHP, JavaScript, even C or Python itself. It doesn't matter. This is not your problem. This is their problem, and their challenge, or their fun, or whatever you want to call it. And that's what you are doing here. So you have, like, for example, quotes, and then this page also has the, for example, the selfdev.com, and then it has like community, and then that's where you get all the members from this page, and here quotes, and then here this is a download, whatever you want. So you see, there are different ways how to do all of that, and your task is to extract all of them. Does it make sense so far? Yeah.
Okay.
And to do that, you have to write some Python code, Python script. So this is your Python script, and this script will consist, for example, of four functions here, and each scrape one page, or one source, actually, data source. So that's what basically this script is doing. Maybe I make it a little bit smaller. Does it make sense? So that would be your first task. But that's the the easy part, right? That you just have to write 4 functions or like one function. It doesn't matter, but it's a question of how clean you want to code it. And then you need to do the next step, which is to transform the whole code. And that's where we go into the next step, which is to take, like, for example, you have 10K sets here, and each of them, like you saw before here in the task number A, for example, here you just have, oh my god, paste as a table. What is this? Oh my god, no. Okay, I want to do this. So here you have, what is this category? What is all that? Oh my god. Okay. So imagine, make it a little bit beautiful. So here you have name, category, and one-line pitch, and an image URL for your members. And here quotes, maybe quotes is not so good. Okay, maybe quotes. We take quotes as well, but the quotes are coming from the people which we scraped here. So let's say we have the name, the quote, and the date when the quote has been written from the people, because we are trying to scrape all the members from the self-dev community. And this page has all the members, and this page has all the quotes from them. And then you have messages they sent on Discord. And this data here has all the messages all of the people on the whole server sent together, which hits around 200,000 entries. Okay? So this is all messages. So here you have, for example, the ID of the message, the text of the message, and then you have the user name, and then, for example, user ID as well, and then you have the server name where they, or like the channel name where they posted all of that. Okay? Can you follow me so far? I need to make it a little bit. Okay, just remove this. Okay, so we have 3 data sources, and you see those are 3 columns which we have. Then we have 4 columns, I mean, sorry. Then we have 3 columns, and then we have something which is not even related to the category or quote at all. The only thing which is related is the username, for example. And here's also the name, and here's also the name. And you already can see that there's a difference, that this is called name, this is called name as well. Oops. And this is called username. So this is the first thing which you have to understand and transform the data. You see, you have so many different columns or data which you have to think about. And now you have to transform them, which means that you have to put them all together, that they actually fit to each other. It's like Lego. Does that make sense? So I copy all of them and duplicate. Whoop. And now I need to think of a structure, how to transform them and put them together so I actually could put them into a database. So how do I get all of them into this one? And that's one of the biggest challenges next to the, not here, but more like when you build a scalable system to build the whole distributed system, that's the next challenge. But here, you need to figure out how do they fit together. And that's where you have to work with databases, and you have to understand, okay, how complex is my data? How many different type of data types or different labels and keys do I have in my data? And so far we just have we collected all of them and put them together in one pot. And now you need to see, okay, how do I fit them together? And that's when you have to look up or understand how to work with databases. Like we have relational databases and NoSQL databases, which is kind of hard to understand if you don't know what that means, but we will cover that in the next one. Because if you have relational databases, you basically just need to understand or question and ask yourself, does my data have any relations to each other? Okay, and as you can tell, in our example, we have some relations, of course, because this would be the name. So you can connect, like you can find all the messages from one user just based on the name. And you also can find the quote and the category they are in just based on the username. And that's why it's called relational databases or relational database. And for that, you can use different databases. So relational database doesn't mean that it's just one database or something. It basically just means that it's a type of database. Okay? And to do that, we have MySQL database, and then we have PostgreSQL database. And that's something which you should look up for the next class, guys. But Johnny already did that, so Johnny needs to work on the task actually, which I will give him. And then we have NoSQL, which basically is the opposite. Like you have so much data, like it's too big. Imagine you have like 4 or 6 different data sources, which also are related to the name or to another label or key. And then when you want to get all the types together, if you would have a database and different tables, I don't know if you understand when I say tables, then you have to merge them all together. And in MySQL or SQL, you talk about joining tables, right? Because if you have a database like this, you have multiple tables in that. So when you have, like imagine this is one database, and then you have multiple tables. So I don't know if that is clear actually already for every person. So this could be the name, like the users, and then you have here user informations or extra user extras. Oops. Okay, this is not good. Then we have message Discord messages. So this is basically how this relational database would look like. You have different tables here. Like one database consists of tables, and then they have some kind of relation. That's why you always see those connections to each other. And now imagine you have like 6 different ones, and you want to get all the data. And to do that, you have to join all of them, and then you have to talk about a primary key and foreign key. But that's another topic. Just to throw in some words so you have heard about them already. And that's super, it's super, let's say, slow, because it also costs a lot of resources and also performance if you have to request all the data. And that's why using MySQL databases or relational databases can be a disadvantage. And that's why you could use NoSQL, which could be MongoDB, or I think Redis is also NoSQL. And then, yeah. Any questions so far? Or did I explain too fast or something?
No, all good from my side.
Nice. Okay. Johnny and Afro and Ötzi, hello.
Yeah, it's good, but it's too complicated for me.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. When you get to that point, we will talk about that again. But you are still in the beginning. That's why it's just good that you have heard about all of that. And today I just want to go down the ETL pipeline for you. I don't want to dive too deep into the database part. This is just a very quick excursus on databases. Johnny, what about you?
NoSQL was because the relational databases now have some sort of something in common, which is why they are linked together, right, or joined together.
Yeah, I mean, the data in the NoSQL, they also have a lot of things in common. Like you could have the same data in a relational database and also in a NoSQL database. But the question is, how fast do you want to request it, and how much time do you want to put into setting up everything. Because if you have to set up relations in databases, it costs you a lot of effort and a lot of like energy to code that, because you have to come up with some schema. So I don't know if you understand when they say schema, like the structure, how your database needs to be built and how they are connected. So that takes a lot of time to do. And with a NoSQL database, you don't need to do that. There is no predefined structure or schema how the data needs to look like and what kind of data type you need to have. Does it make sense?
The name itself, SQL, also means structured query
Exactly.
language. That's why NoSQL is no structure, and the other ones are all with structure and
Exactly,
conditions.
exactly.
Yeah, okay,
Does it
I need
make
to look
sense?
this up to fully understand it, but I have an idea now.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, you see, this is like the transform part where you have to think about all of that, and you need to transform the data, which basically means that, for example, let's say you have two data sets, yeah, or like three. We have three, and then the first one has my name long integer, but you know it also has my ID in another row, and then my ID is 5. This is the data source 1. And now I do the same for the other data source, and this here my name is long like short, and my ID still is 5 because this is my ID. And then here it says long like short, and my ID is 5 like this. You see? Those are like the three data sets which I have, like from the self-dev page here on top, here, and then from the API, and then from the downloaded CSV file. And all the data, they look like this. They basically are the same, but here it says long integer, here it says long like short, and then it says long like short. Or maybe we can make it even more complex. It can say long dot integer, and then it says, I don't know, in German, 5. And your task is to transform the data in a way that they all fit to each other. And then you need to understand, okay, this is a little bit complicated for this one because it's all different. But let's say you just have those cases, and you know all names, they just they put a space in between. And then you need to transform the data and say, okay, this one has to look like this one as well. So you have to write some functions which processes the data and takes this string and removes all the spaces so it looks like that. Or the other way around, that this one should look like this when you process the data. Does it make sense?
Okay, understood.
And also 5, for example. Or we have another one which says my birthday. My birthday is, for example, 11. No, 69. So this is my birth date here, and here it suddenly says 04/1169. It says the same, but the format is different. So that's what you also have to transform. You have to transform them into the same format, and that's what the transform task should do for you. Because in the extract part, you just take it how it is, and then you look at the data and see, okay, what is happening here? And then you transform all of that into a common ground. Like this is what we call, you have to standardize and normalize data. Normalize is something a little bit different, but standardize, basically what the name says, is you have to get a standard. Like, okay, you define that your date should be like day, month, year. And then you have to get all the dates from all the data sources which you have and find and put them into this format. That's what you do when we say standardize. And normalize is, for example, it's about numbers. And let's say, for example, you have salary, okay? So let's say salary, and then here it says I earn 0.005 euro. And here it says I earn 5 e minus 4. Is it the same number? I don't know, but you get the idea. Like this number is different to this one, but they basically mean the same. Or I just can say E3, and then I get like, what is it, 500,000 or 5,000 or so. I hope this is the right number. Wait, let me Google it. 5,000. Come on, man. Math 35. Yeah, 5,000. Okay, imagine this is the case. And that's what you have to transform. Okay? Make sense? And then we move over to the last part, which basically is to load all the data into a database. And then that's what you also have to define before you do all of that. Because the ETL pipeline is just the action which you take depending on the data you have. But before you do all of that, your first task basically is to check out all the data which you have here and get an overview of what you want to do and what you have, or how fast can you get the data, or in what way is the data, or how can I retrieve it? And based on that, I can tell, okay, I need to get the data and transform it into a specific way. And then I understand, should I build a relational database or NoSQL? And then I need to understand how to insert them into your database. And then it could be on your local computer, which is very acceptable when you do some testing and just play with small data sets, right? Or you can go into your VPS, which is a virtual private server, which I do for the self-dev stream that's hosted on a VPS. And then we have a virtual machine somewhere, or we go into the cloud, oh my god, in the cloud, and that's where all the databases could live. And that's where you have to write Python code, take all the data sets, which could be JSONs, data frames, lists, or something, and insert into your database. And to do that, you have different using different packages for the specific database which you want to use. Because, for example, if you want to use Postgres, then you need to use PsychoPG or something it's called. And for MySQL, you can also use SQL Alchemy. And then for BigQuery, which is a cloud database, you need to use pandas, because they work with data frames. But we haven't spoken about data frames yet. But maybe in the next, or in the like 4 episodes from this one, we will dive into all of that. But before that, we need to understand what is a ETL pipeline. And here you basically just load all the data into this database. And here it's super important that you learn how to, that you learn how to work with loggers. You know, you have to learn to work with loggers, because they help you to show you what happened. Like, imagine you want to insert 200,000 entries, and the probability that your 200,000 entries will succeed in the first run is pretty low, unless you're very lucky. But most of the case, it will say, hey, there's an empty name, like an empty string for your name, but you didn't cover this case in your database or in your code. Boom, error. And then it happened at case, or at row 130,000, and then everything stopped and you don't know what happened. And that's why you need loggers, which basically write log files of your events and errors or success stories. Does it make sense? Oops. And that's what we also need to do at one point. That's what I wanted to do next week, that we learn how to write your first logger object, which basically stands for the logging, like logging. Not log like the tree thing, more like logging, log. I don't know. I think it comes from the tree thing, right? The log, because the log also is tracking the whole growth of the tree, right? Isn't it like that? I'm not sure. But yes, that's what we have to do. And I hope that gave you a quick rundown about ETL, what that actually means, and that you now have a basic understanding of ETL pipelines. Guys.
Okay.
Any questions?
So basically, right now, what we have learned so far is that we are basically at the extract part of the ETL layer.
Exactly. So this is the Python script, chip, 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 which you have done before, or now, or maybe this part. Because you scrape the self-dev page and then the inspirational quotes page from another page. So you wrote some scripts already. And we also need to cover error handling, which we haven't done before yet, because whenever you scrape the data, there's always the case that the name or the category suddenly is empty, or it has some kind of values which you didn't expect, and then it just throws an error, and you need to catch that somehow and say, okay, I expected this error, I expected a string, but you returned a float or so, and then you just catch it, and then you can continue. But somebody needs to tell you that that happened, and that's what your logger object can do, and that's what we are going to use in the next session as well, or just to give you an example. Maybe I will make it as a home assignment as well, to learn how to use logger objects, logging. Okay. Then I know that was a little bit much, but I hope that satisfied you, Johnny, because last time we focused more on revisiting other topics, and I hope this time it gave you a little bit more knowledge and insights about what awaits you in the future of this class.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, of course. It did, yeah.
Oh yeah, by the way, I looked up some nice pages which explain something for you, and I will post them into the Discord channel as well, and then it explains to you what is NoSQL and why you should use that. For example, this case here, you have like a relational database is where you just have like users now. Oops, oh my god, it's so big. Okay, we have users, and one user called Leslie Yep, and this guy has hobbies, and then we have a relation. So it says this user ID is number 1. You see, this is another table, so 2 tables, and that person has 3 hobbies, 1, 2, 3. And if you want to get both data from a relational database, you have to join them and say, okay, get the ID from this person or this person, and based on this ID, and then take this ID and look into the other table and get me all the hobbies. And that's like there are some computations required compared to MongoDB or NoSQL database, where you can get all of them in one JSON object, as you can see here. And that's based on some other technology, for example, GraphQL, which is a way to talk with NoSQL databases. But that's another story, and that's too complicated, in my opinion, for beginners. That's why I prefer to stick to relational databases, which we are focusing on right now with Postgres and MySQL or BigQuery. Because if you want to work with NoSQL, you also have to learn another language which is called GraphQL, but that's so complicated, especially for beginners. Maybe Ötzi also knows what I'm talking about, and I can imagine that Ötzi loves to work with GraphQL, but that's just my gut feeling. Yeah. So guys, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, just leave them into the server or write them down into the comments. And thank you for watching. So don't forget to like, comment, and leave a subscribe so you can get notifications on the next class. Okay? And guys, thank you for watching. Monet, say your last famous words, man.
Long is good.